What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about how to do product research during the pandemic. So with everything going on recently with COVID-19 and the pandemic, product research on Amazon has changed a lot. There's a lot of little things that you need to know that can make or break one single product. And just one little mistake can make you choose a bad product over a good product if you don't know what you're looking for. So in order to understand how COVID has really changed things, there's a couple things you need to first off understand and look at. So Amazon, with the whole pandemic, they've released a lot of different restrictions through the entire pandemic. So I want to go over a couple of these real quick, and it will help you guys understand how the product research has changed and how some data might be skewed and how you can avoid that. So the first thing with Amazon and everything pandemic related was March 16th is when Amazon started to not allow anything that wasn't a non-essential shipment. So they wouldn't allow you to send in any inventory. And then April 18th, so about a month later, they slowly opened up what they'd allow to be sent in. They started to allow things that were not non-essential items, so everyday random products, to be sent in. But that kind of boundary was just slowly widened. And then after that, in July, so that last one was April 18th, in July, they started restricting new listings to only be able to send in 200 units at a time. That was kind of their max inventory they could hold in there. So any new listings at that time. And that has affected a lot of sellers. So one thing to keep in mind with all of these, with the shipments not being in or not being able to send in shipments period, then only being able to send in some shipments and having limited order quantity, and with suppliers being backed up, which is not as bad now, and with the new listings only being able to send in 200 units, there's a lot of data that has been misrepresented. A lot of categories that were competitive now look like they are better products, or products that were selling a lot higher now look like they're selling a lot less. So a lot of product data can be skewed. And a lot of times when this happens, when people aren't able to send in more inventory, they're running out of inventory. And you got to keep in mind, like, this is affecting everyone not being able to send in certain items. That means all the listings are going to be unavailable, or a lot of more advanced sellers will close their listing and reopen it when they get inventory back in because it doesn't hurt you as much. Now, when that happens, that listing doesn't show up in your product research. And when it doesn't show up, you can't take it into an account. So if there's 20 listings not showing up and those have high reviews, high sales, but they're out of inventory because they're selling a lot and they can't send in more because they're a non-essential one, or they were the last of kind of the broadening of what products you could send in, or the inventory limit, the 200 units that you can send in as a new listing, if they're any part of those and they're selling quick, they're not going to show if they close their listing. So they're not even going to be part of that kind of data in the first place. So I'm going to jump on my computer now and show you guys how you can check this, make sure when you're doing product research, and kind of new opportunities that are available now with COVID and everything going on, and products you should avoid. So let's actually jump on my screen now. So I'm on my computer now, and one of the things I want to show you guys is how many different brands don't show up for certain products still. So I took some data that was in a video I made that was in April for a certain product and looking at those numbers and those sellers. So the data for the taco holder here, which you see on your screen, the old one looked like this. So we can see different brands, this, whatever that name is, Semco, BioXL, OH, Charmount, Lulu. Now, if we go and look at the first page, again, those guys were all ranked on the first page. They had a good amount of reviews. They should be staying there. But we can see, okay, we see this weird brand name here, okay, but we see a bunch of different ones. I don't see that Lulu Home, that BioXL, OH is still there, but there's a lot of listings that are either just coming back in stock or don't show at all because they closed their listings. And you can see there's a bunch of names that aren't there, that were there before, that aren't even in the top 15. And you can see everyone's sales history here that just dropped, drop, and that's from being out of inventory. And the ones that weren't usually sold more during that time. So you can see this guy dropped here, but this guy spiked right there. And it's kind of inverse. It depends on when they ran out of inventory and when they were able to send in more inventory. So this is something that you have to keep in mind when doing product research, because if you're not seeing half the listings that are actually there because those listings are closed, then you're not able to take into account that data, and that can really skew the data. And I've seen a lot of people doing this with like my students sending me screenshots saying, oh, this product looks good. And I'm like, okay, you have to look at the seasonality of it and just what's happening right now with COVID. It is harder to do product research. It's not impossible. And there's a lot more opportunities actually in the market because of it. And that doesn't mean sell hand sanitizer or toilet paper or anything along those lines. The whole goal should be to stay away from those trends and go after what's going to work in the long term better. So there's a couple different ways that you can check. So let's say I wanted to sell this product right here, the taco holder. Well, how do I know if those listings don't show? What should I take into account? How do you even do product research? So how you're actually going to validate these markets, because there are listings that might not show, you won't get all of those listings and you won't be able to include them in your data, which is vital for analyzing a product and doing product research. So what you want to do is you want to look at the market as a whole, look at the keyword search volume and the sales over an extended period of time and see how it was trending before and how the coronavirus stuff has affected it. So I'm using a tool right now, and this is Jungle Scout. I'll leave a link to this in the description. But what I'm doing here is I'm going to go and I'm going to type in my product keyword. So I go under product research here and I go do opportunity finder. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave all of these open. I'm not going to change anything. I want them all maxed out. Everything is selected over here. And what I'm going to do is uncheck this box, and under include keywords, I'm going to type my main keyword here. So let's say we're doing it for the taco holder or the taco stand. And it's going to pull up a list of all these different keywords. And I want to find my main keyword, which is probably going to be taco holder here. So I'm going to click the little drop down here. And we can see the average units sold, and we can change this over 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. So let's say I want to look over 6 months. How have these been selling? So they were selling, okay, let's go 1 year so we can see it right before COVID. So I'll look January on. So we don't care 2019, January 20. So January is always a little slow, so we'll be down here. And then you can see it increased February and then jumped up even more in March. And then it fell down kind of when the inventory limitations Amazon put on applied there, which is normal to see there. And then you can see it jumped up a ton again, and then slowly has started to die down, which is still above where it was. So for this as an example, you want to see increasing sales from February, March, April low is okay. But again, the reason May is high and it's now dropping is you have to keep in mind grocery and cooking and home type things like that are a lot more popular over the last couple months with the pandemic and everything. So that is why I think these sales spiked. So if I was looking at this and I'm like, oh, sales are good and everything else looks good, this would be something I want to look out for, because look, sales are now declining month by month. Again, still higher than what it was, which is not bad, but something to take into account and keep in mind. And again, that's the average units sold. And I normally look at the 6 month and the 1 year, but you can also look at the average price and see that over time. And we can see it stayed relatively the same, with the average price being around $15 here. That did not change much. And you can also look at the search volume here. So if I go over to the last 6 months, or we can do a year again, of search volume for this product, we can see that it was doing well. It dropped right when the pandemic hit, and then it increased again. Again, that's when the sales increased right there. And it kind of flattened out and now is at a low. So this is obviously how many times people are searching for this one keyword. Now you can do this for multiple different keywords for your product. So this is called a taco holder, but can also be called a taco stand. There can be different versions of it. And you also get cool other information here. So average monthly units sold, the price, but we don't really care as much about this. Our other product research using the extension would show that. We care about the kind of trend of it over the amount of time over the pandemic. So I'm going to do one more to show you guys an example. Let's do something that is exactly what you don't want to see. So we're going to type in hand sanitizer. Actually, we'll type in face mask. That will be more fun. So face mask, we're going to search. And again, we're going to find our main keyword, which is the one usually with the most search volume. And I could sort this by search volume, so monthly search volume. And I'm sure the word face mask will be here, so face mask right here. I'm gonna click this, and we're going to look over 1 year face masks. So obviously, pretty steady throughout, a little spike in December. December is always higher. Christmas, January is always a little lower than December, usually about half or a third even. And then slowly increased, and then COVID, and boom, sales increased. And these were essential goods. So again, keep in mind, essential goods could be sent in. That drop in April, May because of out of inventory can also be there. Now, most listings will be back in stock, so the data won't be too skewed, but this is something you need to take into account and look at. And what you can also do is look at the Google Trends. So if I go over to Google Trends here and I type in my keyword, so let's say we type in taco holder, click search. This is going to be the Google search volume. Now, this is not as important as the Amazon search volume, but it is a good thing to look at and keep in mind as well, seeing if it's people searching on Google and then finding it on Amazon, or how just that item is trending in general. So we can see taco holder, that search term on Google is pretty steady the last, so this is 12 months. So it's pretty steady through COVID and everything. And it's still about the same on Google, but on Amazon, we saw a little bit of a difference. Now, if I type in taco stand, let's see if that's any different. So I would continue to look at these. It looks about the same, maybe slowly trending up, but can't tell here. So what I do is I look at that data after doing my normal product research, make sure it fits all my criteria. It has good sales, it's lower competition, there's enough room for profit on my price. And then this is kind of the extra work you get to do now. And having that historical data is really important, especially when it's per keyword and not just listing. Because if I looked at just those listings, their sales history, that doesn't account for the listings I don't see. The reason that Jungle Scout, that tool that we were using, the sales history, is because they track those. It's not just a random generated one-time thing. It's been tracking that over time and those keywords and that data and gathering it. It's not just whether that listing's there or not, it counts for those sales in the past because it has that search history. So that is why it is important to use a tool like that, or to be able to have that data for certain keywords and just that product market in general. So that's really how I've been doing product research and making sure the skewed data and those limitations aren't affecting my product research and aren't making me choose a bad product. So it is important to validate them. And real quick before I finish, I want to invite you guys to a kind of private training, a webinar, if you will. There's no pitch at the end, there's nothing. It's just training. It's going to be straight to the point. It's going to be on Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. At the end, you guys are going to be able to call in and ask me questions live. The whole thing will be live. And like I said, we'll do a Q&A at the end, do training first, Q&A. It's probably going to be the same amount of time. You guys can call in, ask me questions, and I'll answer your questions. It's going to be about finding a product and choosing a niche during the entire pandemic and everything going on. Now, because I am allowing people to call in and actually ask questions and be on the live stream with me, it is going to be limited to only 100 people. So I'll leave a link to that in the description. Again, it's 100% free. There's no pitch at the end. It's just training. So hopefully you guys will go sign up. Hope to make it full. It's going to be this Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you guys have a time you want for the next one, I'm going to be doing these weekly. So make sure you go down below, sign up, and I'll see you guys in the next video.